All right, everybody. So this is it. This is the video essay on time energy that I talked about doing on that one video I did a long time ago. And I think I've referenced it a few other times. I've said, this is something that's in the works. This is something I'm going to do. I think I've put too much thought into it at this point. So I'm just going to straight up read it out. Now, this was something that's been developed over the course of the last several years through both theory and practice. And I am relying on the work of a lot of different theorists, and my master's thesis develops this concept. The section that develops this is like over 20 pages long. I'm not going to be unpacking that here, obviously. This is like a 4-page read. If you were to just sit there and read it, it wouldn't take very long. And I will be posting this on my blog on Medium. Anyway, it's condensed. It might be a little hard. I'm trying to strip away all the jargon I can and just speak in the most commonsensical terms. But if you are new to that kind of language, I just recommend revisiting it. Listen to it once or twice, spend some time with it, come back to it later, revisit it. It should make more sense later. But if this is all just like too much, no worries. There will be some videos coming soon where this concept is put to work, like for instance, in trying to understand problems posed on organizers or the problems posed on people trying to build community and the ways that time energy factors into this. So it's a lens that we can use to think about things theoretically and to engage the world practically. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. This is time energy. Time energy is a key concept for reconceptualizing and organizing human society. Theoretically, it promises to help us understand the most pressing problems we face today, and practically it shows the biggest obstructions or traps to avoid when organizing. Failing to comprehend important aspects of how this concept works can doom projects from the outset. Strategic action must factor time energy into its thought in as much of its systematic rigor as possible. Basically just saying, we have to understand how this works in more detail than our basic intuitive sense already gives us. The purpose of this piece is to be as short and concise as possible without losing systematicity or rigor, so I leave out primary theoretical inspirations and sources, which are discussed in more academic detail in my thesis and book. Time energy is not just the words time and energy mashed up together. Time energy points to the phenomenon that comes first and matters most in our experience. Time and energy, as used in our daily lives, are secondary products of abstraction, separated from lived experience. Time energy must be understood existentially, not just physically, psychologically, or structurally, although all three of these, as well as other scientific endeavors, no doubt will help us understand the concept better in various ways. Time energy is energy with time, and time with energy. For a human being, time energy is the basis of value. Value is the potential to actualize what matters to us. Without time energy, there is no hope of doing anything that matters. Think about it. Time without energy is nearly worthless. Time without energy is time that must be spent recovering energy. If you work or study full time, then your free time is really recharge time to get back to the grind. Because this free time routinely lacks energy, it is spent in passive involvement with the world through entertainment or other forms of consumption. In a similar way, energy without time is basically useless. But here we have to get a little more specific about the terminology. To really carry the weight of meaning meant by time energy, we have to keep in mind that what makes this kind of time valuable is not just that it is a moment like any other, an isolated moment, but rather it is time with the potential for repetition. This is an important distinction because if you happen to have energy but no time with the potential for repetition, you are incapable of investing time energy towards the personal, communal, or cultural aspects of life that require sustained effort. A community is not built over the weekend, and you don't learn a new language sporadically. Sustained effort. Sustained effort requires active engagement, which could also be thought of as routine sacrifice of time energy. Sustained effort is the opposite of immediate gratification. Sustained effort makes you a producer. Immediate gratification, on the other hand, makes you a consumer. Now, perhaps you want to point out that most people are both consumers and producers because we work to earn money so that we can consume. True. But wage labor is production for private interests, usually for a boss, the banker, the landlord, the political class, and the capitalists. The tendency of wage labor is to use up your time energy in a week, leaving nothing but weekends and evenings of time without energy or sporadic bursts of energy without time throughout the year. If your only real sustained effort goes towards building a company or growing profit for other people's private interests, then you are not able to put sustained effort towards developing personal, communal, or cultural aspects of life. I keep saying personal, communal, and cultural aspects of life. So what are these, and why do they require sustained effort or routine sacrifice of time energy? First, let's consider the way I'm talking about time energy here required that we separate immediate gratification from sustained effort. Now, there are aspects of your personal, communal, and cultural life that involve immediate gratification. Food, dance, and drink can be communal or cultural, but consumption can't be all of it. Truly partaking in your own culture is not just something you do once a year or on holidays. It's a way of life. The high arts are also a way of life, requiring a degree of knowledge, which may include practice in the production of those arts. Such arts are seen as elitist or aristocratic as a result, because leisure time and access to educational resources are necessary prerequisites for their enjoyment. We can't really appreciate something unless we know how it is made. Thus, our ability to develop personal skills means learning something you find interesting or fulfilling that is not just for making money. Taking the violin, for example, if you learn it through years of sustained effort, eventually you are an asset to your community and able to better participate in culture at large. You are able to move an audience to tears and inspire. Personal skills develop us in ways beyond what can be easily commodified unless you're very lucky and you literally don't have any interests outside of your career. The life of immediate gratification has diminishing returns. For example, the bodily needs can only maintain satisfaction in consumption with constant diversification and intensification of the experience. For instance, always needing to mix it up or binge. This leads to addictive consumption in many ways, the most obvious being substance abuse, where you need more and more and more to keep getting the same high. Shopping can work the same way. Sustained effort in meaningful activity, on the other hand, makes you an asset to yourself and others. This is cultural enrichment. It tends to take the form of sacrificing enjoyment now for the cultural products you can share later, whether it be poetry or computer programming. Kinds of energy. We already talked about how the time in time energy must be thought of as having the potential for repetition, but this tends to get used up or dominated by labor time or economic necessity, where the value we create builds the long-term power of the few while the mass of workers are compensated little more than enough to get by from week to week. But just in the way that we have to think that time in time energy has the potential for repetition, we have to think of energy a little bit different. It's not just any old energy, it's not woo-woo energy, and it's not just physical energy either. There are a variety of kinds of energy that correspond to different kinds of activities requiring different motivators for different types of people. For instance, there are physical, social, creative, emotional, and intellectual forms of energy that correspond to activities such as athletics, political organizing, art, friendship, and science. Why does any person care about any of these types of activities? What types of motivation factor in? There are, of course, differences in disposition or personality. Some people are simply more extroverted than introverted or feeling overthinking, but disposition isn't everything. Just because social occasions take more energy for some people doesn't mean that those people desire social interaction less or need it less. It just means they either need more time energy in their week to commit to such activities in a routine way, or that they strictly limit themselves to sporadic and non-routine bursts of social involvement, attention, and recognition. One of the largest factors that motivates us in any of these activities are the reference points of our social field. Meaning, energy doesn't just come about in a vacuum. You don't just feel energized to do things without other people. Other people in our social realm have to do with how we feel energized about different kinds of projects. This includes family, friends, teachers, employers, coworkers, comrades, or fellow worshipers. At an early age, we desire the recognition of others. Recognition is not the same as attention. Just like how time energy is the potential to get actualized into sustained effort, attention is the potential to get actualized into recognition. Recognition is the acknowledgement of our value. It is respect and appreciation. However, for it to be real recognition, it cannot be blind to our deficiencies. Recognition has a critical aspect, in that it means potential affirmation or negation. Negation meaning that others may disapprove or be disappointed in us. We all need recognition from a diverse variety of others to really get a sense for who we are and what we are capable of. Communal and cultural engagements then, at an early age, form our understanding of how we go about achieving, earning, and gaining recognition. A lot of the complex stuff happens during these formative years. For example, if all we see are people using their phones and going to work all of the time, and there's no real relationships being developed, we develop a skewed notion of how to achieve recognition. Commodified social life simulates communal and cultural engagement, but it's rarely real. Online, this takes the form of parasocial relationships, which are a simulated diminishment of recognition. The problem is that real recognition requires time energy, not just your own, but of others. For others to truly get to know you, they need to get to know you over time, and not just in a passive way where they've given you some attention, but where they put in the sustained effort to get to know you, to respond to and interact with your strengths and weaknesses. Consumerism simulates the spectacle. Capitalism is, gasp, good at some things. Chiefly its capacity to produce commodities for us to consume passively or in a hurry. Passive consumption is our default mode for spending time without energy during the weekend or evenings when we finish work and need to recharge. Here we use the wages we earned in exchange for our sustained effort to at least enjoy in the moment. But there was a huge abyss created when we didn't have the communal and cultural recognition to really motivate us or show ways of using time energy for non-commodified engagements. If others don't have extra time energy to pool with us towards building community and culture are fractured. What steps in to fill the void of fractured social life? Commodification of the social realm. How does this unfold? Through the attention economy online, where we are sold the images and signs of a social life without some of its most necessary elements. Here we are able to connect with others in communities based on interests, but we are severed from the kinds of relation that require truly getting to know a lot of very different people over sustained periods of time. Basically, this undermines our ability to have community. Here we are all replaceable with a couple of swipes or clicks. Attention is the currency, and we only have so much to give. We want more than we put out, but getting any requires giving significantly more. Most of our time without energy is spent giving passive attention into the attention economy, where we literally gamble for the opportunity to get some in return. But this attention is almost inherently limited because it's one-directional, meaning parasocial. Online dynamics. Without recognition, we are driving ourselves crazy and go to more and more desperate lengths to gain it. But without the communal and cultural pools of extra time energy, there's no real hope. On the attention economy, there are two primary ways of gaining attention: creation and destruction. Creation requires a lot of time energy. Destruction is pretty easy. People who are fed up with giving so much attention without almost ever getting any back can feel really resentful towards creators who they perceive as getting more than their fair share of attention. We also spend so much time giving attention to the spectacle of others that we get fed up with them pretty easy. They aren't really people after all. They're figures that either affirm or negate our identities. We aren't really in communities either. We're in validation gangs. Fandoms created around brands that cultivate our identities. Peter Coffin. Cultural icons, therefore, either get our love or hate. Rarely are we simply indifferent when we don't think someone is worth attention. Instead, we feel angry. Why are people talking about this person? Why is this person worth the attention? Fuck them. This festers an environment of renunciation and betrayals. It fosters more than just call-out culture, which is just one aspect of this, but it also breeds the hot definitive take posts. These are the kinds of posts aimed at gaming reactions from others. If recognition isn't attainable and all we can get is attention, then surely any attention sure beats no attention. In an era where economic labor, the sustained sacrifice of effort that gets siphoned away towards private interest, is increasingly devalued by rising automation, we need to learn ways to prioritize the real human wealth, time energy. We must learn ways to put people and planet before profit. Profit here meaning in its economic, cultural, and social forms. Or we will only continue to see this rising spectacle where others are seen as a drain on our economy or ability to gain recognition. We must push back against the system's insistence that everything is zero-sum competition. With dwindling resources, climate change, and fewer jobs due to automation, we must push time energy to the forefront. Money is not value. Profit is not value. These are only secondary to the most important form of value, human time energy. Without it, and without communities in a culture able to sustain and foster the pooling of it, we will only continue to eat ourselves out of community while destroying this planet. If you found that helpful, then thank you very much. The people who have freed up my time energy so that I could take on this project and others like it are my patrons. You can become one or make a one-time donation through my PayPal because I'm trying not to work other jobs. I'm trying to focus on making this message more available to people. So if you thought this was pretty condensed and language was a little too dense, then don't worry. There will be way more accessible versions coming from me if I can keep doing this. We'll see. Take care.